gang, it's your friendly neighborhood cult leader here, and I have an offer for all of the listeners of the Cult of Odd. Are you like me, an avid reader, but you find yourself not having the time to actually sit down and crack open a good book? Well, we've partnered with Audible. Audible has thousands of titles to choose from. Your old favorite books, new releases, their own original content, self-help stuff, exercise help, it does not matter. Audible has it for you. I know myself when I'm doing stuff here in the studio, I have an audiobook usually going. If I'm working on graphics or doing copywriting for the shows, I have an audiobook going. I love stories. We tell stories through the show. That is essentially what our show is about. Stories. Audible lets you enjoy all of your audio entertainment in one spot. So what are you waiting for? Take advantage of it today. You get one free title a month. So in 30 days, they'll give you your first book free. You've got nothing to lose here. Go sign up and then come back and tell us how happy you are. Go to audibletrial.com/cultofodd and take advantage of getting 30 days free.
You're about to listen to our program Eng. We don't know why, however we are grateful you chose to. We do wish to inform you that the views, opinions and overall morality do not necessarily reflect those of the station, interview guests, sponsors or musical entities. If you should choose to continue, and we sincerely hope that you do, just know, we tried to advise you against these actions and we are not responsible for any damage done to your sanity, morals or ideals. Thank you. Here comes the terrible siren.
One of us. One of us.
I am aware
I am a humble man.
that you feel you don't belong.
I won't say you should follow me.
You are welcome. You are loved. Join us, and we shall reach the promised plain.
I'm not boastful, and my chorus is more soulful.
One of joy, one lacking pain. We are the Cult of Odd. I am aware
Don't say it. I can see
you
it.
feel you don't belong.
I don't wanna. You don't need it. Once again, we don't need you. What I'm needing. Don't say it. I can see it.
Join us.
I don't wanna. You don't need it. Once again, we don't need you.
One of joy, one lacking pain. We are the Cult of Odd. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am your friendly neighborhood cult leader, Odd, and you are listening to the Cult of Odd on Tap Detroit. And with me in the studio is our one and only altar boy, Corey. How you doing, Corey?
What's up, guys? That's what you're supposed to say. Come on.
And also joining me for the very first time, joining the Cult of Odd, is my good friend X.
Second time, actually.
No,
No?
this is the first time you've joined the cult.
Under the new name,
I
yeah.
do. Hello, world. This is why I give you talking so much. Just follow along.
X and I have been friends for many years, and X was actually on the old show on Mad World Radio. I forget what the hell we were talking about that time.
Yeah, I can't remember.
It
That was a bunch of
probably
weird
was similar to.
Similar to this, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I have been jokingly telling Corey, too, that his favorite person is showing up because since he met you, will randomly at times when I mention something that fits kind of with you, is that your friend that, that's in IT, the black guy?
Yeah.
Like every time.
It's me.
So I told him when we had talked about this and we said that you were coming on, I was like, your favorite person in the world is coming. He's like, why do you keep saying that?
I'm honored. Totally.
Yeah. You're really good on the mic,
Thank you.
And you're really intelligent. We talked about so many weird things back then. We do too now. But
It's all right. It's the right month to have a man crush, Corey.
Already?
Yeah.
No, that's next month, brother.
No, that's this month.
Oh, it is?
Yeah. So anyways, tonight's show is called Pride and Prejudice, and the whole point of it is we're going to be talking about Pride and Juneteenth and how those two things may not seem like they go together, but realistically, they do. This all started from a conversation that X and I had in private. We have a lot of conversations in private.
Really good ones.
Most of the time because we know where each other's coming from, but the shit we say and how it gets said does not bode well for public view.
It's not ready for public consumption.
Yeah.
Is this
We
your
keep
way
it-
of saying?
we keep it real.
Is this your way of saying you're a Trump supporter?
No.
I get accused of that often.
But no, and the other thing is I'm highly aware of the fact that I am a white guy discussing black community issues. My voice doesn't matter, like, really in the issue. But, like, there's some things that you bring up that I'm like, hey, you know, I've got an opinion on. It
Right.
doesn't matter, but I've got one.
Well, you know, your opinion is always welcome with me.
I know. Yeah. But I also don't want to feel the ats and the tags and the blowback
Who the
that
hell
I...
does this guy think he is?
Yeah.
We own this.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the other side of the goal, though, is to get more supporters. You know, no matter what color skin you have.
Right.
Yeah.
And I understand, like, people not wanting to, like, well, this is our issue. You know, you don't really have a say here, but, like, I get that.
Yeah. I mean, with open dialogue, it's not always comfortable.
Right.
You know, it's not always comfortable. And you've got to be able to step out of your comfort zone.
Well, and two, a lot of the stuff takes place on Facebook.
Yeah.
Which you piss somebody off and they report you, and Facebook's algorithm thinks it's just close enough to something that's offensive, and then I get a 30-day ban and can't do shit with any of my
you should
businesses.
see my suspension list.
Mine too, buddy. Mine
My
too.
friend got a 30-day ban for posting a video of her husband or son catching a fish.
Wow.
And she got a 30-day ban because
Pissed off, Peter.
it was related to child pornography.
What?
Right.
It's crazy.
Where?
Excuse me? On Facebook.
But like,
Catching
how?
a fish. Yeah.
Was the kid shirtless?
I don't know.
Because, like, I've seen a few people that have gotten hit because they've put like their grandkids up or whatnot, and they're running around, and it's summertime, you know, it's hot, and they've caught a warning or a ban or whatnot. And like, my opinion is this: just don't put your kids half naked on the internet. Just go with
Well, you
that.
know, when I was little, it's like
Don't sexualize children.
Agreed.
You look
Yes.
through your parents' old photo albums. It's picture of you running around butt naked.
Yeah.
2 or 3
In
years
the
old.
lawn.
But today you can't do that.
Yeah, I get
Right.
it. Don't sexualize children, but
Yeah.
at the same time, use a modicum of your own personal responsibility.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing they want to control.
Personal responsibility.
They want to control a
We'll
lot.
give you your personal responsibility.
So, anyways, this conversation, this show, the idea for it started from a conversation that X and I had again, in private, because he had put it up, and I think I asked the question publicly, or I mentioned that I have a question. No, I remember what it was. So you put up the post about the Great Value
The
ice
Juneteenth
cream.
Ice cream.
Yeah. Which, what does Juneteenth taste like?
Well, it's funny because some people who were the quote unquote Juneteenth experts, the flavor of the ice cream was red velvet cheesecake. And people were like, oh, what's that flavor got to do with Juneteenth? Red velvet cake is a traditional Juneteenth dessert.
Okay.
So I'm like, at least somebody there did the research to know that.
Right.
But, people were just flying off crazy. It's like, it was the weirdest thing to me.
And like your post, when you put it up, it didn't seem like you liked the idea, but it didn't seem like you didn't necessarily like the idea.
Yeah.
And so I posed the question because I have a design up right now on the merch shop for Pride.
yeah,
I do one every year for Pride. I've got family, I've got friends and other loved ones that are all along the rainbow. I care about the things they care about because it's same with my black friends and stuff. I care about the things that they care about because I don't want to see my friends hurt.
Right.
So I put up that, as a business owner who wants to make it known that representation is important to us, how then, as a marginalized community or as a member of a marginalized community, do you want to be represented? How do you want to feel seen, heard, and represented by the companies that you choose to see, hear, and represent?
Well, what I saw a lot of was, along with the physical representation, we want some type of substantive action behind it. Like with Walmart, I saw a lot of people say, well, they're going to sell the ice cream. They could have used a black ice cream producer, or they could use the profits from the ice cream towards some, project or anything that will benefit our community. So I think it's beyond the optics of it. A lot of us just wanted something more substantive to come from it. But my issue with that was, because a lot of people are, what are they doing for the black community? I'm like, well, what are the other companies you support on the daily doing for the black community? You know, I mean, we can't, if we're going to be that way, we got to be that way across the board.
Right.
You know, if I'm going to hold Walmart to this standard, I got to hold McDonald's to this standard. I got to hold Burger King to this standard. I got to hold Ford to this standard. I got to hold Chrysler, Stellantis, or whatever they are now to this standard.
Right.
So, like, I don't like the cherry pick. Like, if we're going to do it, it's got to be across the board, because that's how it gets legs and that's how it gets, you know, it gets moving. But if we just cherry pick, it's like, oh, now you look like you're crying.
What's the difference between doing what's right and what's easy?
That's a good question.
No,
what's right is never really easy if you really think about it.
It wasn't so much a question. It is the difference between doing what is right and what is easy. What you're proposing is what's right.
Right.
What they're doing is what's easy.
But my other argument with that was, okay, they did what's easy this year, but at least it got the ball rolling in the vein of acknowledgement. So next year, between this year and next year, we let them know, Walmart, you put that ice cream out again, but here are a list of black colleges that we would like to see you donate to. Here are some black schools or, you know, community centers we'd like to see you donate to or support, you know, besides just making money off of this Juneteenth thing. Because personally, I didn't have a problem, because we wanted the holiday to be acknowledged. That's how it became a federal holiday. So along with those desires to be acknowledged, it's a fine line, because now you got to define what you want that acknowledgement to look like and what you want to benefit from that acknowledgement. So that was my take on it.
No,
and that's why I said I didn't have a problem with it, because it was a starting point.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to always throw a 100-yard pass for a touchdown. Sometimes I'm going to throw a 3-yard pass. Sometimes it's going to be a 5-yard pass. But collectively, we'll eventually get to the touchdown.
Well, and from that, our conversations, like they always do, they spin off to other things. And I remember you bringing up that point. It was like, it is a starting point.
Yeah.
And then we got talking about pride, and you had mentioned how the black community and the LGBT plus or LGBTQIA community are sometimes at odds with each other because, well, what is it you said?
Well, where I see...
I'm trying not to white-splain people, okay?
No problem. and I just want to make it known, I am not the spokesperson for all black people.
No.
So please don't take it this way. This is my opinion, my viewpoint. Where I see that happen between the two communities is when it comes to the expression and the fight for civil rights in the country. It's like, you know, I'm a black man. I grew up in a black family, so historically, I've seen discrimination. I've been told about discrimination. I've experienced discrimination. So with that history and with that experience, I personally cannot tolerate seeing anybody else get discriminated against.
Right.
The issue comes in when the two groups begin to try to compare and equalize their experiences. You know, there are some similarities, but there are some places where it just cannot be.
Yeah, people start arguing their hurt. Well, my hurt was worse. My hurt was worse.
And that's where I think a lot of the argument and the what's the word I'm trying to think of? The disagreement. Animosity comes between the two. Because, I mean, in some veins, it is true. It's like, as a person of the LGBTQ community, some of your experiences cannot be compared to ours. Because historically, ours have went on for hundreds of years. You know, and still go on to a certain extent.
Technically, so did theirs. They just weren't out out in view. You can hide being gay. You can't hide being black. That's what I was telling my fiance today earlier. I said, that's a choice. She's like, well, they shouldn't have to. It's not that they don't. They shouldn't have to. Right.
But they can if they choose to.
Yeah.
And it's like, the other thing is, it's like, you know, we get kind of deep and maybe going to a little nasty area with this, but the gay community was never free labor. The gay community was never looked at as 3/5 of a human.
Right.
You know, so certain aspects...
No, just an abomination to God.
Which we had our gods and religions stripped from our souls on the transatlantic slave trade. So those areas, I don't like to see an attempt at making those equal. Like, it's not a comparison. It's not a competition. It's not a race. It's not It's not like, oh, look at me, I got this, and you know, I got beat worse. I got beat. It all hurts.
Yeah.
But in some aspects, there are areas where I think collectively we could support each other, and those are basically in the areas of discrimination based on your sexuality and your race, because those things are still very prevalent.
Yeah. Well, and as we were talking about it, that's when I brought up Stonewall,
Which I had never heard of. So
yeah,
he introduced me to that too.
And that's why you probably hear me all the time. I say I just don't understand. I don't. I'm not wired like everybody else. Things. I don't know if it's a matter of. Okay, I'm not saying superiority, but like intelligence, education, a drive to just take in knowledge and stuff. When I get a question, I don't automatically just make up my mind about it. I try to go seek out answers. And this is one of those things that I didn't understand, is that why the black community and the gay community were at odds with each other, if you will.
And it's not a consistent.
No, but there are vocal sides.
Yeah, there are vocal sides. And
yeah.
Like I said, from my experience, it's when the two communities start trying to
compare their hurts.
Their hurts. That's when it really gets ugly. You know?
Well, and the thing is, too, is there's a lot of people in your community that have no clue that they are directly responsible for the gay rights movement.
The gay rights movement, yeah.
I was talking with another friend of mine earlier this week, and, you know, had said that there's so much history that we just don't know. And
not to cut you off, I'm sorry, but when you first told me about Stonewall, based on what we were talking about that initiated the conversation, Juneteenth and stuff, I thought it was a African American riot that I didn't know about. So when I was reading about it, I was like, oh, okay, this is different. This is not what I thought it was. You know, it still involved my people and other people collectively, but it wasn't what I thought initially it was going to be about. But I still delved into it and, you know, learned a little bit about it, and there were some comparisons between the two movements and how they started and what their overall end goal was.
Well, and we'll go into the history a little bit later and whatnot. This is just kind of the primer and everything. But to give a quick snapshot, the Stonewall Inn was located in New York. It was frequented by black community and also the gay community, which means, and it was predominantly frequented by the black and gay community, which basically translates to the black gay community. And the police were doing raids in those areas that African Americans were and gay people were. And they knew they had both right there. And so they were setting up entrapments and things like that, trying to get a reason to basically beat the crap out of a bunch of black people who just so also happen to be gay.
Because the raid that we're talking about, wasn't there reasoning, and I don't know if we're going to say this for later.
No, I'm going to, the thing that I sent you, I'm going to read.
Okay. Because wasn't it like they raided their cause for raiding was it lack of a liquor license, or they weren't
something like that?
They weren't allowed to sell liquor,
but it was always bullshit.
Yeah, it was, and they would come in and shake down people. And this time, the people had just had enough, and they were like, "No."
Your entire culture was demonized for smoking weed because jazz musicians just so happened to smoke.
And the one thing that I learned about today, because like I said, this was all new to me, was the Stonewall was a place where the black gays could go and be comfortable.
Yeah, be themselves.
You know, matter of fact, it was all any gay person could go there and be comfortable. Now, and I'll say this for later when we get into the history part of it.
But I
learned something.
An area for an acceptance.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Because at that time, from what I remember, if I remember correctly, the only state where being homosexual was legal was Illinois.
I think so.
Yeah. So in New York, it was even illegal to be, you know. So imagine that. It's illegal to be gay, but you're gay and you're a black person. So you got double discrimination. So, yeah, and I'm just against discrimination.
Yeah, well, and like I said, it's one of those things that I just don't get. I don't look at somebody and see the color of their skin or the clothes that they're wearing and often make snap judgments. I've got a really good bullshit detector, and I've got those vibes that I pick up off people.
The spidey senses.
Unfortunately, sometimes they do fall into categories that look bad. But I've got a good radar on who's good people and who I need to keep away.
Right.
But I've never, they're black, I need to stay away from them.
Yeah.
They're Mexican, I need to stay away from them.
And, I experienced that as a teenager. We used to, a group of friend of mine, I was about 14 at the time, we lived in west side of Detroit, about a mile or two from Dearborn, and we used to walk to that park on Greenfield and Ford Road. Mm-hmm. And we used to walk, there's about 6 or 7 of us. We go out there and we play around and stuff, and all the white people would just all of a sudden snap. Wherever we were, all the white kids would disappear. And their parents would literally, like, get away from those
come
people.
over here, little Billy.
And they would say, get away from those guys, and then it was like, we kept going because that's just the type of person I am and my friends. We were like, we're going to keep going because of that. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you remember, back in the 80s, when Dearborn tried to do the thing where you had to be a resident of Dearborn.
I was a child.
To come to their parks. And it's funny because all the news reports and press conferences they had were at the park we would go to. So I was like, did we start
That's
that?
bullshit.
Yeah, it was. It didn't last long. It didn't last long.
Well, see, so I grew up first 4 or 5 years here in Wayne. Okay. And then after that, I lived in Romulus.
Okay, so
and
you were never in Detroit.
No.
Detroit area. Okay.
Well, yes, but not until I was older.
Okay.
I was a teenager and I hung out in Detroit.
Okay.
And
you were picking up weed.
No. No, not at that.
That's what my brother did. He used to catch the bus.
Wait, did you say picking up weed?
Yeah.
I might have once or twice while I was down there. Fuck off.
I don't blame you.
It wasn't my intent, though. No, I had a buddy of mine whose grandmother had a place down near Hart Plaza, had an apartment. She would go out of town on church, trips to Vegas. Mm-hmm. Church gambling trips. Gotta love it.
Nothing like it.
Yeah. So sometimes we would, watch her place. Well, he would, and I'd just hang out. Okay. And there were other times where I was down there, and I would take sandwiches and cigarettes down to Hart Plaza and hang out with the homeless people that are down there and talk to them and hear their stories. Mm-hmm. That's why I like what we do here, is because this show is technically all about stories, learning history and learning from others.
And it's funny you say that, because when I was I worked downtown. And years ago, I used to go, I would walk, I would park maybe a mile from work and walk. And there was a homeless guy one day, and I just stopped and started talking to him at the gas station. Mm-hmm. And he made such an impact on me. Like, when I would leave out for lunch, whatever I would go get, I would get 2. Yeah. And I would bring back, and I would sit in the parking lot of the gas station and eat with him and, just talk to him like a person.
Because they're people.
Yeah, and he was so it was amazing.
I want you to know that the Holy Mother and the throne she sits upon are listening.
She said she made it into the chat finally.
Yeah, she did. I see her right here.
On her own, without help.
Holy Mother said, my aunt and my uncle had a house in Dearborn for 42 years, and they tried to sell it, and they realized their title said they could not sell to Negroes. Mm-hmm. They bought their home in 57 approximately. Yep.
That was very prevalent. I wasn't born back then, but from what I hear and read.
When I worked downtown, I made friends with a few homeless people. And one of the ladies I used to talk to was outside begging for money one day, and it was raining bad, So I gave her my umbrella, and she was like, you want me to just hold on to it? I was like, no, you can have it, Mm-hmm. And I come back out, and she was using it. And she's like, hey, do you want it back? I was like, no, you're good. A week later, it was raining again. She didn't have it. I felt bad. Maybe she sold it. I don't know.
But, no, it's a matter of, people don't know history. And like you had said, you had no idea about Stonewall, and you actually learned something from,
And I think one of the important things to point out about that was, when I saw what it was about, I wasn't afraid to continue learning about it.
Yeah.
Even though that's not my lifestyle, I do have close family members that are part of that community, so I'm very supportive. Like I said, I'm against discrimination. I'm all for.
I would imagine you got friends too.
Yeah, I'm sure I do.
That's why I always say friends, family, and other loved ones.
So it wasn't, it was good. I wasn't afraid of it. At first I was a little thrown off because I was like, it wasn't what I thought. It's like expecting orange juice to be in a cup and it's Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
It's like your brain prepares for one thing and then it's something different, but you adjust and you say, you know what? I still want to learn about this because I'm interested in the context of
it. I think because your community played such an important role in that event, that they should, more of them should know about it. It's like most people didn't know about Tulsa until the Watchmen TV show.
Mm-hmm. And most people still don't know the true story. I mean, everybody spouts off about it, but they just know
We got an episode on it.
Part about it.
No, we got an episode where we went in depth on it.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to check that one out.
I sent it to you. It was one of the two that you didn't listen to.
Oh. My apologies.
No, I respect that because he sends me so many articles or things to listen to or watch or whatever, and I get caught up doing something else and I forget.
I'm not gonna lie. A lot of times when I'm not busy, I fall into the strangest YouTube rabbit holes.
Yeah.
So my latest thing has been like black holes in space and how they operate and could we survive in them and are we living in one right now? So I go in these rabbit holes and I get stuck for hours. So
I had a
those
friend,
are really good rabbit holes to go into.
Yeah.
I like those types.
I had a friend that would often ask me if I thought we were living in a simulation, and I was like, well, yeah, we are. And he was like, what? And I was like, no, we totally are, 100%. And he was like, how do you know? And I said, okay, brain meat, right? Eyes, there's a delay.
that's true.
So everything we live through that we experience in our brain is on a delay, so it's technically a simulation.
That's an interesting concept. Never thought about that.
Now, he was genuinely asking, are we plugged into fucking computers like Matrix? But, I gave him an answer that made enough sense that fucked him up for a day or two.
So technically, what we see with our eyes, the delay when we process it in our brains means whatever we're seeing in our brains is in the past. So when I'm talking to you right now, this is in the past.
Yep.
I'm just not ready.
You never live in the present.
That's interesting. That's why I like you.
That's why I fucked with you. But no, that was important for me to share the information on, because I knew of Tulsa. I knew it was one of the dark moments in our history. Yeah. And then when they brought it to life on Watchmen, I was like, oh man. So I went and read.
I wasn't introduced to it. I still, to this moment, I don't really know what you're referencing. But I was watching a show on HBO that I really liked. What was it? But it had a lot of Jim Crow era stuff.
I know which one you're talking about, and I can't think of the name of it now either.
They canceled it. The writer of the show was a black woman, and they said it got too racy for HBO, right? Which is wild. But I think she's going to get picked up by Amazon or something. Okay.
You're talking about Lovecraft Country.
Lovecraft Country.
Because it mixed
it was so good.
Lovecraftian themes with Jim Crow era laws.
Yes. And it was really well done.
So maybe it was starting to expose some uncomfortable truths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely it was.
I also think that's why Watchmen got shit canned, is because it opened up the door for people to understand what happened. Now, Watchmen took place in an alternate reality from our own, of course, an alternate timeline where things went a little different. But they still, not only did they talk about it, but they showed.
Visual is powerful.
And so I started reading up on it then, and then, I don't know, about a year or two later, I finally felt I had enough knowledge compiled that we could sit down and write out an episode for it. And so we did, and I think it's one of our better episodes, honestly. Nice. That one and the one we did on Martin Luther King are two of my favorite episodes so far.
I'm going to start catching up on the episodes.
Just listen to the important ones.
Good. All of them are important. Chris,
no, because sometimes I fuck around. Nah, there's a reason we have a shirt at the merch shop that says "Back on my bullshit."
Yeah,
yeah, that's me sometimes.
Some shows are just us hanging out, and those are fun.
I always said I never want to be around people who have to be deep all the time.
Right.
Holy Mother said, "Corey, call your mother. She'll tell you all about Tulsa."
Well, I'm sure she will. Oh man, her and my uncle were hippie rebellious. Protesters, they're through and through.
Mother.
I bet she has some amazing stories.
She does.
Yeah.
She does. She was with this guy for a long time when I was a child. He didn't do anything to me, but he was a Mormon. I don't know what that means, but she was going through this Mormon temple with him for so long, and then she gets to the top of this temple and they just basically were like, everything's a lie. And so she has all these speeches written about that. And she used to go do them, I don't know for money or if she just did it for fun, but she's very outspoken.
I honestly would like to get your mother on the show and just talk with her.
Absolutely.
I know her and Dave have that thing that they do typically at 9:00 every Friday night with his family, the Zoom call.
I would tell you that I would set that up for you, but I am no longer her favorite son. You are.
I know. Yeah.
So
I would love to hear her stories because.
What do you say, Holy Mother? Are you down to come out one night?
There it is.
Isn't the Mormons the one that had said black skin was a curse or a punishment or something like that. Yeah, I would love to get that.
And those are also the ones that like
inside.
come to your door and
Yeah.
like there's it's
with
wild.
the bites. I'm like, that's some really nice bites. But
Yeah,
You know, I'm nice to everyone, all the door knockers that show up. The Jehovah's Witness ones don't know how to take me, though.
they never do.
Like, they knock on my door, and I let them run through their spiel, and then they try to hand me the watchtower, and I'm like, look, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm just going to take this and throw it away. Why don't you hold on to it and give it to somebody who might be able to get something out of it?
I used to enjoy reading the Watchtower, actually, for some reason. I'm 51 years old, and they knock on the door. I still say my parents aren't home.
Now, I love the Mormons when they come by, though.
I've never had a chance to talk to them.
Well, they steer clear of your neighborhood, I'm sure.
Yeah. No, those are the ones on the bikes. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see them in the neighborhood. Yeah,
Okay.
They come through a lot, yeah.
Well, yeah, every so often we'll get them here, and they'll come up on the porch. I'll give them water, and I'll offer them, something to eat if they're hungry, like crackers or something like that, because they can't have sugar, and they can't have caffeine, and they can't have anything fun.
That's why they dress in all black and white.
Right.
I would love to talk to them and the Hebrew Israelites at the same time. That would be interesting.
You know who are fun to talk to? The Mennonites. They're the Amish that can still use electricity.
Oh, so they're Amish light.
Yeah.
Literally.
Diet Amish.
I keep seeing a lot of TikToks with Amish people on it. Like I don't know if they're on Rumspringa or what. And it's just a lot of funny shit.
Holy
Playing
Mother
like
said
Weird Al
she's down.
Yankovic to them and all that.
Oh, I want her and Dave to sit down with me and Ollie and do an episode.
Ollie and I'm just looking out for you.
I don't
You're
care.
Not an idiot.
I grammar.
Can't have you out here sounding like one.
Yeah, well, you don't have the mustache to be going after my grammar.
That's a requirement.
Actually, we got about 2 minutes before we go into our first break, and you're going to get a brand new song from Blue Orchid Reaction. They sent it to me over a couple of days ago. It's called Sunset Claims. You're also going to get a song by Red called Walk Away, and then you're going to get a song by Carmel Liburdi, Like the Dead. I tried to have some sort of theme with the music, but, it really ended up just being what I wanted to hear this week.
Yeah.
And then when we come back, we'll dive into what Stonewall actually was. I have it all pulled up here, and we're gonna go through the history of what happened, and we're also gonna talk about Juneteenth. But I know you don't know as much as you probably would like to about Juneteenth, but I'm gonna let you at least explain what you do know about Juneteenth.
Yeah,
so
I know the basics.
Yeah, so I'm not out here completely white-splaining.
Yeah, I got you. We'll have some representation.
Yeah. You're listening to The Cult of Odd on tapdetroit.com, and we will be right back after these commercials and songs.
Hi, everybody. It's your friendly neighborhood cult leader here. I've got an offer for you. We are doing a Patreon pledge drive from now until August 1st, 2022. If we can get 10 new patrons to our Patreon signed up at the $5 level or higher, the 10th patron will win a custom piece of merch. Free. You'll be the only one with this design. Patreon has helped us be able to make upgrades and purchase assets and stuff that we need to keep doing the show. And we want to see more of you. So we're offering something in return. Sure, if you sign up for the Patreon, you get tons of cool perks. You get full episodes, you get coupon codes, you get a shout out. Most of that is not tangible stuff. This is something that you will be the only one with. So the 10th person to sign up between now and August 1st of 2022 will get a free piece of custom designed merch. Our way of giving back. And if we keep enough patrons, maybe we can start doing giveaways regularly. Head to patreon.com/cultofod. Sign up today. You got nothing to lose.
Now it's time for our Patreon shout-out. Big thanks to C. Weezy, Rice Rogers, Tiki, Justin Burnside and Zaldor of Zaldor's World Podcast for becoming a patron. Welcome to our Holy Mother and the throne she sits upon, who have joined the Cultivod Plus. We hope you enjoy our long, uncut and girthy episodes until you're fully satisfied and left shaking from laughter. For everyone else, you can join our Patreon too. Just head to patreon.com/cultivod. Become a patron and reap the benefits today.
Tired of regular bar food and bar atmospheres?
Yes!
Do you long for a place that feels like home where you're treated as family and not just another customer?
Yes! Yes!
Then Big League Brews is the place for you. Their menu is the most extensive in all of Downriver. They have an excellent breakfast selection, and they're also well known for their burgers and wings. But hey, if you don't want to believe just some guy on the radio, Big League Brews has been voted best sports bar in Metro Detroit by Click on Detroit 6 years in a row. They have the friendliest staff and a wide array of cocktails and beers, 26 of them on draft, with new creations regularly.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
And if you're looking for work, Big League Brews offers the most competitive wages with great medical and dental and vision benefits and plenty of paid time off. So what are you waiting for? Get on over to Big League Brews, located at 20428 Ecorse Road in Taylor, Michigan, or head to bigleaguebrews.com for more info. Big League Brews, go beyond ordinary. Eat and drink extraordinary.
I remember all the times that we would spend up on your roof, just me and you, a pack of cigarettes for two. Now I'm sitting reminiscing with a fifth of Captain Morgan, drowning out my sorrow, looking at pictures of you. Baby, where did the time go? I think we might have lost it in between all the problems you kept causing. You drove a dagger through my heart, took it out and licked the blade with a smile on your face. You put me right in my coffin. You cold-hearted, it's funny how they work. You give a girl a card and they end up kicking the dirt. So baby, beg my pardon for these words that I say, but you ain't the only girl anymore. Times change, but I don't. No, I don't. No, I don't. You know time changes everybody, baby. I won't. No, I won't. No, I won't. That's why I don't trust. That's why I don't lie. So baby, look me right in my goddamn eye and tell me that you love me one more time, and then I'll let you walk away. Now I'm watching. Yes, I'm watching. Yes, I'm watching you walk away. And now I'm watching. Oh, yes, I'm watching. Oh, yes, I'm watching you walk away. Now it's been a couple months since I've even tried to call you. I've been working even harder on myself. I know you see me doing well and you congratulate me now, but where the hell did you go when I really needed help? I know you hated that I'm making it. I know you wish you never dated him. I know it hurts to see the other girls above me now. I'm living life without you happily up in the clouds. You want me back, but I won't play no games. I won't say no names. I see that karma has something in store coming your way, and I'ma laugh at the day, just like you laughed at my pain. Cause now that I see that you're changing, I'm very proud to say that I don't. No, I don't. No, I don't. You know time changes everybody, baby. I won't. No, I won't. No, I won't. That's why I don't trust. That's why I don't lie. So baby, look me right in my goddamn eye and tell me that you love me one more time, and then I'll let you walk away. Now I'm watching. Yes, I'm watching. Yes, I'm watching you walk away. And now I'm watching. Oh, yes, I'm watching. Oh, yes, I'm watching you walk away from me. Now, baby, we both know that we've been through hell, but now you're just another story to tell. Another wish in the well. I picked you up when you were down and kept that smile upon your mouth, but I guess it wasn't enough to make you stick around. But now I'm doing it, it feels so great. I have dreams and aspirations, you got problems to face. I could have been that guy to help you through them, but instead you pick another dude over me. Like, what are you doing? Don't you see that it ain't like movies up on the screen? I keep it moving. With or without you, I'ma live my life and keep on doing what I always promised doing. And lately I've been noticing the changes. Everybody seems to do the same thing, but baby, I don't. No, I don't. No, I don't. You know time changes everybody, baby. I won't. No, I won't. No, I won't. That's why I don't trust. That's why I don't lie. So baby, look me right in my goddamn eye and tell me that you love me one more time, and then I'll let you walk away. Now I'm watching. Yeah, I'm watching. Yeah, I'm watching you walk away from me. Now I'm watching you walk away from me. Baby, I know it's been a long time since we talked or we even had a thing, but I see that you're changing every day, and I'm very proud to say that I don't. So everybody stand up and say it with me. That's why I don't trust. That's why I don't lie. So baby, look me right in my goddamn eye and tell me that you love me one more time, and then I'll let you walk away. That's why I don't trust. That's why I don't lie. So baby, look me right in my goddamn eye and tell me that you love me one more time, and then I'll let you walk away.
Are you tired of incense that stinks? Motor City Candleworks is Metro Detroit's #1 source for premium handmade incense, as well as hand sanitizer and now massage oil, with a wide array of scents inspired by Michigan cities and attractions. You're sure to find a fragrance that'll keep your love of the mitten burning all year round. Head to MotorCityCandleworks.com and order yours today. And make sure you find them on Facebook, too, for all of their upcoming sales and events. Motor City Candleworks. Michigan handmade scents that just make sense.
That smell. The kind of smelly smell.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. You're listening to the Cult of Odd on TapDetroit.com, and we're talking about Pride and Juneteenth. And the first thing that we are going to get into is the history of Stonewall. For those of you that are older, that are listening, that have paid attention to history, this is not going to be much of a history lesson for you. For the rest of us, those of us in the younger generation, that certain bits of information have been kept from us for X, Y, or Z reasons, prepare to learn.
And I just want to say I learned about this from you, and
I did too.
It's a very interesting experience. Or
I also learned about
piece of history.
Juneteenth, which was cool. Because I've heard like coworkers and stuff talk about it, and I never understood, and I was too stupid to ask or embarrassed to ask, you know. But
Don't
I
want to sound stupid.
Well, no, not that. I sound stupid every day. I'm comfortable with that. I don't know. Anxiety gets the best of me occasionally.
Yeah, Juneteenth is. I'm still in the learning phases. I know the basics, but
and I think we all are. You know, it wasn't until just a. We don't talk about Texas.
That's where the experts are.
But no, there's a lot of things that over the last few years have become more visible, and I think it's important that we do learn about these things. June, as everyone is well aware, is Pride Month. Every evil corporation dons the rainbow to make you think they give a shit, when realistically they don't, because in July they'll be right back to hate your ass.
Yep. And I would like to point out that Great Value Walmart did have a Pride ice cream.
Yeah. They've had that for a few years.
Have they?
Yeah.
Okay,
the Juneteenth one is the new one.
Okay, I just saw it.
Yeah, that's the status quo for those. Is like slap the Pride thing on for a month, and then next month it goes away, and we'll talk about it again next year, or we'll catch a couple extra sales next year, hopefully. And I think that's where the big blowback for the Juneteenth one is coming into play, because they know it's basically just playing alongside that same corporate agenda of slap this on, catch a couple bucks.
And I think both with the Juneteenth and the Pride Walmart issue, we have to remember what country we live in. This country is based on capitalism.
Yeah.
So,
yep. If you care about it, we'll capitalize on it.
And if it is a big issue, you can always support your local community. Granted, it does cost more. You know what I mean? unfortunately.
So Pride Month is a time to celebrate the movements in the queer history that sparked activism and progress towards equality. But there is one piece of history that frequently gets lost, and it's the fact that it is one of the most defining moments made possible, and it was done by Black and brown LGBTQ+ activists fighting for their liberation. As Black and brown people, their marginalization was furthered by their sexual orientation, causing violence, discrimination, and oppression toward them with respect to income, employment, housing, education, political representation, access to health care, and other public and private services. Wow, not a lot's changed, huh?
The more things change, the more they stay the same.
The fight for liberation and equality has been whitewashed out of much of the history of not only the LGBTQ+ rights movement, but history in general. Mm-hmm. Each historical era has determined not only how Black and brown people who identify as gay lived, but also what they risked losing by revealing their sexual preferences or identities. The first national gay rights organization, the Mattachine Society, was founded in Los Angeles in 1950. Within 2 years of its founding, the society turned its attention to fighting police abuses of the Chicano community and the police entrapment, wherein police officers would flirt with, coerce, or even sexually assault suspected homosexual men, then arrest them for lewd and desolate behavior. The first LGBTQ+ Pride was the commemoration of the 1-year anniversary of the Stonewall riots,
Today too.
which served as a catalyst for the LGBTQ+ movement for civil rights in the United States and around the world. 52 years ago, in the early hours, June 28th would be the actual date. So, June 28th, 1969, in the early hours in New York City, police violently raided the Stonewall Inn, a popular gay bar, and hauled off employees and patrons, a majority of whom were Black or brown. The raid led to 6 days of protests, largely led by Black LGBTQ+ women. It was reported that Stormy DeLaVere, a gay rights activist and male impersonator, threw the first punch at the riot. Marsha P. Johnson was an activist and self-identified drag queen who advocated for trans people, homeless people, sex workers, people living with AIDS and HIV, and incarcerated people. She led the protests and the riots demanding civil rights for gay people in the days following the raid on Stonewall, together with Sylvia Rivera, who was only 17 years old, but was already a well-seasoned activist with Black Liberation Movement. Johnson founded Street Transvestite Action Revolutionaries, otherwise known as STAR, in 1970 to provide safety and shelter to homeless LGBTQ+ youth. Another leader in the Stonewall riot, Miss Major Griffin Gracie, went on to direct the Transgender Variant and Intersex Justice Project, a San Francisco-based nonprofit. This month also marks an anniversary for the first reported AIDS case in the U.S. On June 5th in 1981, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention released a report describing pneumocystic pneumonia in previously healthy gay men in Los Angeles. By the end of that year, there were 270 reported cases and 121 deaths from the severe immune deficiency, which would later be known as AIDS. Now, Stonewall in and of itself, though, because I wanted to know, I thought it was in that one. I wanted to know why they actually raided, because what it was for. So the Stonewall riots, otherwise known as the Stonewall Uprising and Rebellion, was a series of spontaneous demonstrations by the gay community in response to a police raid that began on the early morning. Yeah, we've already gone through that. And they never say what the raid was for.
Yeah.
Even the arrests that they talk about where, like, the cops would flirt with men or whatever, technically the cops were doing that exact crime that they arrested the people for.
Yes, but it's not a crime if the police do it, remember?
Exactly.
And like I said, the couple of videos I saw today, they focused on the fact that they were selling alcohol as what the police claim
Well,
the raid was about.
As was common for American gay bars at the time, the Stonewall Inn was owned by the mafia. While police raids on gay bars were routine in the 60s, officers quickly lost control of the situation at the Stonewall Inn. Tensions between New York City police and gay residents of Greenwich Village erupted into more protests the next evening, and again several nights later. Within weeks, village residents organized into activist groups demanding the right to live openly regarding their sexual orientation and without fear of being arrested. New activist organizations concentrated on confrontational tactics, and within months, 3 newspapers were established to promote the rights for gay men and lesbians.
Yeah, and one of the things, the videos I watched today, when they got to that point, they were like, listen, we have to be willing to risk our lives. You know, we can't do this without being willing to die. And that's amazing to me, you know, to be able to risk your life to further a cause that you may not even be around to enjoy the fruits of the labor.
Well, and at that point in the 1960s, black and brown people were still fighting for their rights to just be.
Yeah, so it was a double-edged sword.
Yeah. It's funny because, like, if you look back at the civil rights movement, you know, it's no wonder why white men are so scared or seem so scared, because the civil rights movement was led by women and black people and gay people. Everything straight white men were fearing at that point. They were terrified of. A woman with a mind of her own, a black person with the same rights as me, a gay person might flirt with me.
Unheard of.
Wait, aren't we there now?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, I see where you're going with this.
I mean, women do have the right to vote and can be as miserable at work as we are.
But they don't get paid the same for that misery.
No.
That's a whole different story.
I say allegedly on that.
No, it's true.
Allegedly.
It's true. From what I've experienced, it's true.
Yeah.
I won't say it's true. I'll just say from my experience, it's true.
I'm going to say that because I've worked so many different fields over the course of my time and, like, jumped around from job to job and different career paths and whatnot, it's true.
Okay.
Yeah.
Every job I've ever had, I always talk with my coworkers about how much I started making right away. I'm like, this is what I make. Do you believe it? You know? And then you always find the one or two that are like, wait, what? You know, because that's what they make now. You know?
Yeah, I've been here 5 years. You just walked in the door.
And I do that for them. In fact, the company I was at in Livonia last year, I got like a 40-cent raise. So it put me at like 19.17. And the whole time I'm listening to my coworker Charlene that does the same job I do. They actually begged for her to come back because she's really good at it. She was like, they really gave me 24 cents. They gave me 24 cents, not a whole quarter. They couldn't go for a whole quarter. So Charlene's walking up one day, and I'm like, yeah, they gave me 40 fucking cents. Do you believe that? And she goes, excuse me?
Right.
And she's a black lady, right? And she's like, it's because of the color of my skin. And so, like, having been there long enough, she's absolutely, she got the double edge on that one. And she was right. So I looked at her. I was like, now you know. You can bitch. So why do you get this? Why ain't I making the same? And there was a black man that was working there. He was like, you know, why do you think she should make the same as you? I was like, because she does the same job as me at the same skill level.
Company as me,
you know,
work area
she put already like 6 years in here. Yeah, granted, she got fired for a little while, but you guys asked her to come back.
Wow.
You know?
That's scary.
I said, I've been here for just under a year now. You gave me 40 cents. Granted, they also took like 40 hours of vacation from me, which is why I left.
And that's why a lot of companies will punish you for discussing that with other coworkers.
But they can. It's illegal
and
to
I
do
knew
so.
that it was illegal, so I brought it up right in front of the boss. My boss was just like, you know, Corey. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
You know it's wrong. And, you know, he's middle management. So he would always go, it came from above me. Yeah. No, it didn't. No, it didn't. You made the final decision.
Right. You have to check that box.
Yeah, you pushed whatever you had to push up. You have a budget for raises and everything that got approved last year. You know, raises get approved the year before.
Yeah.
So they know what they can work with.
They know exactly what the budget is.
Yeah.
They know exactly how they're going to fuck you.
Yeah. the year prior.
Oh, it's always without. They never give you the option of lube. And if they do give you lube, oh, buddy, they're going to fuck you hard.
They did buy us dinner.
Oh, that's nice.
Was it a pizza party?
But George and I, you know, were the two picky eaters. They would get us Jimmy John's, and they never got it without that was like plain, you know. Him and I were both like, we like the plain shit. And we always had to I guess we're just eating chips and cookies tonight, you know.
The Jimmy John's was there.
Him and I would order pizza. Yeah, it was there.
Yeah. It's a slick game, man.
Well, I mean, you know, I've been seeing it floating around lately. It was a quiz someone took for like pre-employment. Like you hear that several coworkers, like a management position, you hear several of your coworkers and underlings are upset about pay discrepancies or not making enough money. What's the solution? Talk to them about raises, you know, have a conversation about, you know, their work ethic, or have a pizza party.
Pizza party. All
The
day.
person picked, talk to them about raises, and that was wrong.
What was it, the pizza party? Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't ruffle feathers.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you've ever read the book How to Win Friends and Influence People, that company that I was at is ran just like that. And their GM was like, he came from sales. Okay. You know what I mean? And I totally understood now how that book would be like their yeah.
Salespeople are different.
Pit people against each other and not against you.
Well, yeah, that's the American way.
And that's the general consensus of that book, and that's how that company was ran.
You know, I was having a conversation earlier with a friend of mine, and I came down to the fact that we were talking about the generational changes. And in fact, I've got two notes for 2 TikToks that I'm going to be doing. Because that's my jam on TikTok at this point is like, 9 times out of 10 the video starts with, file this under nobody fucking asked me, but... But I was talking about a couple of different things, and what I realized is that we do a lot of this to ourselves as a society. We let a lot of things go that we shouldn't have let go at all, and let alone for as long as we have. And that, I like I said, I've got it all mapped out, because I knew it was going to out of my head tonight. But just be on the lookout. I'm going to piss some people off.
Good. And some truths will be told.
And just open my mouth and piss people off. Well, like the whole abortion, thing that was going on. Like I gained a shit ton of followers during the height of it. Like at the beginning, when they started talking about overturning Roe v. Wade, because I was like, well, wait a minute, hold on. Okay, I'm not for or against killing babies. Like I'm neutral here. What I believe is that a woman should have the right to choose what happens with her own fucking body.
Yeah, exactly.
All right? And if you want to get stupid with it, and it sounds like you want to get stupid with it, I said, when it comes down to it, an egg is in no way, shape, or form alive. But do you know what is? Sperm.
Yep.
Swimmers. So if sperm are alive, life begins at sperm, right? Life begins at sperm if they're going back. So why are we regulating women and not regulating men?
Vasectomies for everyone.
Vasectomies, birth control, things like that.
That means I'm a mass murderer.
Me too.
We all are.
Puberty was genocide for all of us.
I've killed billions.
Yeah. You could probably start a small nation off my tube socks as a teenager.
I was just about to say, all the stiff socks in the corner.
Yeah.
Ask no questions.
Oh, a spider.
It's an inside joke we'll tell you at break, because we don't have to go over the story again. But on June 28th, 1970, it was a year after the uprising. It was the first gay pride marches. They took place in Chicago, Los Angeles, New York, and San Francisco. Within a few years, gay rights organizations were founded across the U.S. and the world, and today, LGBT pride events are held annually in June in honor of the Stonewall riots. Okay. So that is why Pride is in June, is because it is honoring the events at the Stonewall Inn. And what I was actually going to get at is the civil rights movement was kicked off, women, black people, and gay people and whatnot. And it's almost like straight white men are afraid that their penis is going to get smaller or something if these people have
the same rights as they do.
Yeah. Like, I don't...
Yeah, I'm like, how does that affect your, how does that impact your daily life?
Growing up, my stepfather was incredibly racist. You know what? He was incredibly ist. Okay, if there was
Sexist, racist.
if there was an ist you could be, he was it. He didn't like my black friends. He thought they were always trying to steal from him.
Wow.
It didn't help that a couple of them did steal from us, but whatever. You know, you're going to have that no matter what. I'm pretty sure a couple of
White
my
people
white
steal
friends.
too.
Yeah, I was just saying, I'm
so
pretty
many
sure a
Pokemon
couple of
cards
my white
growing up.
friends.
You have no idea.
Yeah.
I would steal my friends' Pokemon cards, trade it back to them. Yeah, dude, I don't know how to fucking open a pack today. You know, just having to grab your shiny
But
Bulbasaur.
yeah, he hated my black friends.
Mm-hmm.
He hated my gay friends. He did not really respect any of the opinions my female friends had.
Wow.
You know, I grew up in Romulus, so I mean, I had black and brown friends.
Yeah.
We grew up kind of in the hood. You know, the apartment complex over there off of Eureka. It used to be called Sky Harbor. I have no fucking clue what it is now. It's just before you hit Middle Belt.
If it's not the airport, I don't know anything about it.
It's across
It's
from
real
the
close
airport.
to the airport.
Okay.
Yeah, you know where Blocks is, the fruit market there, or
Is-
the farmers market that's in
Is that on the
Romulus.
corner?
Yeah, Middle Belt and Eureka.
Yeah, it's a gas station.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
my neighborhood was down Eureka the opposite way.
Okay.
They used to
Anyways,
deliver
towards
pizzas
Telegraph?
there.
no,
Or
other way,
towards, 275.
towards 275. So, anyways, there was an apartment complex that sat in front of our the suburbs that I lived in.
Okay.
I hung out in both the neighborhood and the apartment complex.
Mm-hmm.
Most of my friends that I hung out with in the apartment complex, they were black.
Mm-hmm.
You know, most of my friends that I hung out with in the neighborhood, they were white. I was always a go-between for some reason.
Yep.
And my stepfather hated my black friends.
Did you ever ask him why? Like, or was it just
He knew. He was
something
racist.
he grew up with? I mean, but what made him racist?
Oh, yeah, just get the
He
story.
didn't trust him.
Okay.
And I'd ask why, and then I would just, well, that's just because. You know, like,
So-
I didn't get an answer.
So we don't know if it was from a personal experience or just
No.
stereotypes.
Yeah.
Which is what I did when I showed up late today.
Yeah. I wasn't going to call you out on it. I wasn't. I wanted to, but I wasn't going to.
They have literally called me dozens of times in a row, boop, 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 to wake me up, and I'm like, hey, I'm on my way. 10 minutes.
But we got talking about gay people at one point when I was a little bit older, and like I had hit that point where I was just like, you know what, I'm not fucking playing this game anymore. I'm not gonna. I want to know. I want answers. I want to know what the fuck is wrong with you.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, well, it's an abomination. I was like, we're not even religious.
Selectively religious.
Yeah, and he was like, well, if they have the right to get married, it devalues my marriage. And I was like, how
Have
the
you
fuck?
seen the divorce rate amongst heterosexuals?
I didn't even go through that. I looked at him and was like, how the fuck does it devalue your marriage? How does two guys getting married or two girls getting married have any effect on your marriage to my mother?
That means you're giving them more value than you want to admit.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, you're letting it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I remember how it started is because my younger brother had been born, and there were some characteristics there that I was like, I got questions.
The wrist is a little weak.
Well, like, because he always walked on his tiptoes. He had a bit of a lisp. He was very effeminate for a boy child.
Okay.
And so
It's like you see those, videos of like kids coming out to their parents, and the mom's just like, duh.
yeah.
Right. Like, I knew when you were born.
Like, motherfucker, you've been like this for years. Come on now.
Like, when I noticed those things, I said something, and I was talking to my mother, and he overheard it. And, well, no son of mine's going to be gay. I was like, how the fuck you going to stop
Right,
him?
you can't beat it out of him.
Yeah. And they're like, well, I'll disown him. I was like, you really would disown your own child? Now, mind you, my brother is like 2-3 years old at this point. Like, you're talking about disowning a 2 or 3 year old
Toddler.
in the future now, just in case they happen to be gay. And like, do you realize how stupid that sounds?
So, I have a close family member who came out as a lesbian.
Okay.
And the males in the family took it, like, so what? You leave my girls alone, I'll leave your girls alone.
Right.
But
We'll help each other
the
out.
mother went crazy.
Super religious?
No, not at all. And I wondered, when I hear of parents who feel that way about a child that may be gay or shows gay characteristics, I wonder if they look at it as, they internalize it as them, it's like being symbolic of them failing somewhere.
Right.
Maybe.
Yeah, and I think that's why I think the hate they have for that is more internalized. It really has nothing to do with the child.
Look,
it's like, oh my god,
stems from their ego.
If I had kids, I would much rather have my kid come home and tell me that he's gay or she's lesbian than come home and tell me I got a girl pregnant or I am pregnant.
Either way though, like you got to be supportive, one way or the other. Whether I got somebody pregnant or I'm gay, whatever.
Woo, Eleni!
Like, well, let's figure it out.
Yep.
Let's see where we go from here.
Child, you're still my son. You're still my daughter.
Right. What you do with your life, I mean, isn't that the point? You're supposed to raise your kids up, give them the best foundation that you can, and then let them go off and get burned on the stove a couple of times.
Exactly.
I
I've
grabbed my
always wondered,
mom's
and
curling
I ask
iron.
people that, they're like, oh, if my kid was gay, I'd do this. And I said, but, okay, so you're going to disown your kid because they're gay. If that kid goes on to become president of the United States, are you going to then come out and say, that's my child?
Right.
Well,
It's like they can still be totally successful, totally beneficial adults, human beings.
so I had an argument break out on my wall yesterday. I don't know if you saw it or not.
I
but-
just got caught up on it too.
Yeah.
He was telling me about it on the way to work.
Okay, so I posted something basically saying I support my LGBTQ plus friends and family. I support your rights to exist. I support your rights to be married. I support your rights to just be.
Yeah.
And if anyone has a problem with it, they can go fuck themselves, essentially. It's like the overall statement.
Right.
And this one guy decided he was going to fuck around, and he found out.
So you fucked around and found out.
That's the school I went to, man. Fuck around and find out. And he came in and he was like, there's something wrong with you. And I was like, what? Why? Why is there something wrong with me? And he was like, you want your kids seeing that? And that seems to be a huge contention with people, especially right now, because Disney is starting to make moves to be more, I hate the term woke at this point, more aware.
Yeah.
More and show more visibility for persons of color
You could
and
say more inclusive.
more inclusive.
Yeah.
And that seems to be a common theme is like they well, I want my kids exposed to that. And I'm like, you can't hide grass from them
Exactly.
and tell them it doesn't exist. They're going to see it every time they go outside.
Exactly.
And like, why do you think? And this I used against one person. I was like, so you mean to tell me that if you walk outside and see a tree, suddenly you're a fucking tree?
Are you worried about the tree wanting to fuck you?
Yeah, but their worry is a kid sees gay people or brown people or whatnot, they're going to want to turn into that.
Yeah.
Like, first off, how the fuck do you turn a white kid brown? Without the use of sun or a tanning machine. And even then, that don't count.
It doesn't last. It doesn't last.
And I was like, and that was the argument I used. It was like, so does that mean you walk outside and you see a tree, you're going to be a fucking tree?
Right.
Because that ain't how it works.
Because I think exposure in the proper way, it's like the planting the seed of respect and understanding. And if you had those two things, then maybe we can start getting rid of some of the bullshit.
And that's the thing, it's in the proper way.
Yeah, it's in the proper way, I mean, because you can't hide it. I mean, the internet alone,
Okay, so
you can't hide anything.
I'm 35, but like the generation right now that's like 20 and below has been a lot more accepting with like trans, gays, whatever, right? But at the same time, part of me feels like some of it is a fad, where you're going through school, you're still developing, and you're like, well, a lot of the gay people or trans people are super accepted for no reason at a time in your life when you're like, you don't really know who you are or what you want to be or what you want to do. So I think, there's merits on both sides of that. But where that discussion usually stems from or out of is out of hate,
And I think that, especially with the young, because I've got a 14-year-old daughter, and some of the things I've talked to her about just to pick her brain. Like, I'm like, oh, Jasmine, that man on TV has on lipstick. That's, ugh. And she's like, why? Why can't he wear lipstick if he wants to?
Sure.
She's like, he's not bothering anybody.
Right.
So their exposure at such a young age, as long as you give them the guidance and knowledge, which has to be open.
Tools on how to think and how to talk.
Without your negative influence.
Yeah.
It can really help them develop and not be discriminatory.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It can help them not be racist. It can help them because they don't have those thoughts that I was taught this, but now I'm seeing this, and I have this internal battle. So I don't know which way to go.
Racism
they've never
is
seen it, so they don't know any other way.
And it's so easy to do, even on accident,
Racism
whether it's
is
racism or
taught.
whatever. But to throw in your opinion on something, just even like talking to children, like, oh, you don't want to do this because of that, do you? You know, you've already told them not to do it without telling them not to do it. You know?
Okay, so here's what he had said. He said, "You're out of your fucking mind." And I said, "You may think that, but maybe I'm just evolving to understand that everyone has the right to pursue their happiness and true selves, freely and in the open. Just because you see a tree, or just because I know and see a tree exists, doesn't mean I magically become foliage. But you can stay rooted, though."
That's true. And you know, I'm sorry, go ahead.
He had said, "You like your little kids seeing that crap? I think it's disgusting." I was like, would you rather them see rampant racism, sexism, and various forms of hatred and fear? That's the status quo, and where has it gotten us?
Exactly.
Division. It's never good for people to be divided. I have family, friends, and other loved ones that fall under the rainbow. I'll be damned if anyone will tell them that they are less than or an abomination for who and what they are. And this is where he fucked around and found out. Now, mind you, I have to be very careful on Facebook on how and what I say.
Right.
So I have to be more tactful about it these days. He came back with me, read your Bible if you believe in it. And I said, the Bible, the source of most of the lies that built up those prejudices in the first place. Jesus was a socialist hippie, and he wanted to feed and heal the sick for free. He wanted us to love one another no matter what. I don't know how you all got that twisted, but then again, this is also a book that condemns you for eating shellfish, getting tattoos, wearing cotton and polyester at the same time, tells you that your women are property and not people, and gives you the okay to attack them with sticks no wider than your thumb. Or are we choosing which bits of the Bible we're adhering to
And
today?
it also tells slaves love their masters.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not a book I want to go buy.
No.
Not like that. No.
I've never understood that either. How do your people got white Jesus hanging up in their house?
Oh my God. How much time you got?
Well,
I don't even believe in white Jesus.
Like he said though, like transatlantic took away their religions, their beliefs.
And you know, the thing is, one thing I like to point out too is, not only did they strip it away from our people, our original religious beliefs, spiritual beliefs, and replace it with this, they then vilified our original beliefs. Like voodoo, all that stuff now is evil. That was our, because a lot of our, well, not, I won't say our.
She's a witch burner.
Because there were many religions in Africa, but a lot of those religions and spiritual beliefs were nature based.
Yep.
And now it's like, that stuff's evil. If it doesn't hang from a cross, then you're going to hell.
And with history being written by the victor, they've taken those religious beliefs and incorporated it into all of the Jesus
I'm
stuff.
going to tell you what.
Bits and pieces of
I've
it.
always felt that if anyone, or if any religion has it close to being right, it's the pagans, the Wiccans, and the Buddhists.
Yeah.
Buddhists believe you are one with everything and everything is one with you. So be aware of your surroundings and what you put into the world, because it's going to come back to you.
Yep.
Wiccans believe in multiple gods and goddesses that control different aspects of their daily existence, to the point of, like, there's a goddess of crops and there's a god of weather and things like that. There's all those. I believe that's a lot more closer to how things might actually be.
Yeah. Because the Bible, one of the main reasons I don't like, I'm not saying like, but I don't
like the Bible. I read it.
Yeah, you don't support like mass religion.
Adhere to it. I don't like organized religion.
Makes good rolling papers,
It's
though.
because it teaches you.
It does.
I'm not gonna say it teaches you. It kind of forces you into worshiping in the way they want you to worship.
Small-mindedness.
And if you don't worship this way, if you don't go to church every Sunday, come on Wednesday for Bible study, participate in the choir, be the choir director, play the drums, play the tambourine, you're going to hell.
Which
my favorite saying came from my grandfather. Hollering in a church on Sunday doesn't make you any more of a Christian than standing in your garage makes you a Cadillac.
That's right. Because I talk to a lot of people who are devout Christians, and all they can do is quote scripture. They don't understand the history of Christianity.
They don't even understand the scripture that they're quoting.
or the psychology behind it.
The psychology is powerful.
Yeah.
It's super powerful.
And even
That's
like
obvious.
attending church and playing tambourines and stuff, you're still learning a skill set, you know, and learning to like be open and out about what you like, and you know.
I learned that the
there are
pastor's
things
daughter
that you
is usually
learn
the
there.
freakiest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even want to get into that.
That's what I
You
learned.
telling me to go to church?
I used to.
That's when you go to church for the wrong reasons.
Well, fair enough.
You know what?
Sister Jessica's looking nice today.
I'm going to tell you what. Jesus delivered me onto that church.
You ever watch Greenleaves?
No, I've never seen it.
Oh, you're gonna love it. It's really old. It's older. It's on Netflix.
Okay.
But it's,
Now, the
it's got a
devil
lot of
might be
that.
delivering her clothes off of her body, but Jesus took me there.
Everything's in divine order.
Yeah.
Preordained.
Yeah. It's okay as long as it's in church, right?
Yep. Doesn't matter. Organized religion is so dangerous and powerful. That's why so many people want to be in control of
Well,
it.
because of money.
Yeah, money and control over people. You
Yeah.
control what people do and believe, you can run the world.
Did you ever
Like
hear
you-
the story about me being asked to leave Sunday school and never come back to that church?
How old were
What
you?
was that?
I was 12. I was asked to leave Sunday school because I asked a question.
Oh.
And I asked apparently the wrong question.
Yeah.
We were learning about Adam and Eve and how they were the first two man and a woman on the face of the planet. And that, you know, they later had families and life.
Which means all of us are the
Offspring of two
offspring
people.
of
Yeah, of the
incest.
same two people. And that's
Incest.
no, technically not incest, inbred.
Inbred. That's what I mean.
And that was the question I had. I shot my hand up, and the teacher called on me because up until that point, I've been a good Sunday school student. I genuinely asked to go. My neighbors went to church. I was interested. I wanted to know what the hell it was all about. And I was a pretty good Sunday school student. I listened to what they had to say. I asked thought-provoking questions, but apparently those were the right thought-provoking questions. You know, this one, however, was the wrong one. And I shot my hand up, and I said, "So if Adam and Eve were the first man and woman on the planet, and all life have sprung from them, are we all inbred?"
I wish I could see the looks on their faces.
I was escorted out of the room quickly.
I'm
Yeah.
surprised they didn't force baptize you.
No, I was escorted out of the room, and the family, my neighbors that I was there with, were asked not to bring me again.
Wow. I had a discussion like that when I was a teenager with, I had some friends who grew up in church, went to Catholic schools, you know, all that type of good stuff, so they knew everything about the Bible. And I would ask them questions, and eventually we just get to the point where they couldn't answer. They'd say, "Oh, well, we don't ask that. We don't ask that." I'm like, well, how can you not ask something that you're dedicating, you're basing your eternal life on?
Right.
So you don't want to understand that. Like,
So, Eleni in the chat said, "My partner shared one with me the other day about God being water, and that is why so much of our body is made up of it, and so much of the planet is dependent on it, and why we can find it in outer space. Said it even kind of explains death in heaven because water gets recirculated. It was interesting."
Yeah.
You know, I don't mind like theological debates.
Yeah.
You know, I don't mind questioning everything. I think we're kind of supposed to.
yeah, it's when it goes from debate and conversation to browbeating.
Well, and that's the thing, though. Like, people used to do this a lot more, you know, and like
Wherever
the
two are
invention of
gathered
the
in my name,
TV
so shall I be.
has started to hypnotize us into not wanting to ask questions and just being
That's what I
content.
always thought. You know, I hate the saying that two things you don't really discuss is religion and politics. Like, why?
Yeah,
It's two things that we're basing our life on.
because
Yeah.
we're taught to just fight about it and not actually discuss it.
Because we might ask the right question and wake up the right thought processes and change all this shit.
You look at Germany, they have like 9, 10, 11, 12 parties, you know.
What pisses me off, too, is a lot of the religious community and the ones that are against the gay people. And the trans is a big one right now. And it pisses me off that they will purposefully misgender or misname because they think, I'm not falling for you. You can call yourself a toaster. I don't care. It doesn't make you one, blah, blah, blah. Kind of like my tree argument, unfortunately.
He goes, "I'm the same devil."
Yeah. But, you know, I have trans friends. And when they started their transition, one of the first things I made sure I did is, what do you want to be called?
Okay, that makes sense.
What do you want to be called? because I know you as
Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what do you wish to be called now?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and they were like, well, nobody's asked me that. I was like, well, okay, but I give a shit. You're my friend.
Right.
I don't want to misgender. It's going to probably happen once or twice in the beginning. And please don't hold it against me. It's not malicious in any way, shape, or form. It's just, it's a transition
That's
even
what's
for
been
me.
the norm.
Yeah. And I've got a writer friend of mine right now that is on her way to fully transitioning. She's scheduled her bottom surgery, and if people are happier and comfortable as a certain way, what does it matter?
Yeah, who am I to tell them not to?
Like,
Right.
okay,
Go be happy. Go do your thing.
let me ask you this, and I'm going to try not to make this sound too racist or whatnot, but you're a very well-spoken black man. All right? I'm going to assume you catch shit for it. Maybe not so much anymore.
Not so much now. When I was younger, maybe a little bit.
Where do you feel most comfortable? When you're the well-spoken black man, or when you're cutting it up with friends and there's a little more of where we probably both grew up coming out?
To be totally honest with you, it doesn't fluctuate that much.
No?
No, it doesn't fluctuate that much. Like, I may, depending on the amount of rum involved, I may get a little more fluid with the profanity and stuff like that, but...
Well, because you work at an office, right?
Yeah.
You work at an office atmosphere, and of course, office
Even
atmosphere.
before that, when I was working in a warehouse, used to work in a medical warehouse, and I've just always spoke well and been, I'm really...
You don't find yourself having to conform to fit in?
I refuse to.
He told you at the
If I
start
got-
of the
Good
day
man.
he's a corporate thug.
Yeah, the corporate
If I
thug.
got to conform, there are two things that's going to happen. Because of my personality
I'm
type.
going to quit.
I'm either going to try to conform you, or I'm going to leave.
Or both. Start with one. If they ain't doing it, bye.
Yeah. Well, that's why I said, whatever you're more comfortable as, it doesn't affect me. Like,
Exactly.
You're not asking me to chop off my dick, or, you're not asking me to get into something that I'm not into. What does it matter?
Yeah. Like, I never go into... Because I've got friends that do it. They get around white people, and all of a sudden they become the perfect examples of the Queen's English.
I call it white
And I'm like,
voice.
what the fuck? Like, then when you get around us...
Oh, the Eddie Griffin.
Then
Here.
But then,
Well, Bob, yes, I am.
but then when you're around us, it's total Ebonics. And I'm like, why fluctuate? Just be... If you're an Ebonics speaker, speak shit everywhere.
Because
Maybe not in a corporate environment, because if you're going for a job or something like that, it may not.
well,
work
that's
there.
the thing, though. Like, they catch heat from it. Whoever it might be, you catch heat for acting like that.
Well, there
or
is
talking
another
like that.
there is
Well, I think
another
that-
subsect
Like,
of
I
society.
curse a
Now,
lot.
what I will say though, and I get this a lot,
There are chameleons among us.
I've always gotten this. I'm bougie, arrogant, stuck up. Now that I'll get. Nobody says, "Oh, well, you're trying to talk," But I do get that a lot, which is totally not my character. But I guess the way I carry myself in situations.
Yeah. Well, you like nice things. You like vacations. You like nice things. You like going places and seeing things and whatnot. And I think that's where the bouginess comes off.
Work hard,
Because
play
you're-
hard.
You're not going to like Heath Beach or some shit like
you know,
that.
the
You're
thing
going
is, though,
somewhere nice.
The thing is, though, I used to get that shit when I worked at White Castle.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would work at White Castle, and they were like, "You think you're better than us?" I'm like, "Why? I'm working flipping." Well, not, flip burgers at White Castle, but I'm here working the fryer and flipping burgers just like you.
Yeah.
I think I'm better. And that's the thing. Sometimes I have to make it a point to show people that I don't think I'm better, because for some reason, a lot of people, think I give off that vibe, which I don't think.
It's because you're intelligent.
I lost a best friend over that.
I get constantly accused of that as well.
Yeah, I lost a best friend about that. When I got into IT, I started making a little bit of money, and my friends weren't. But I was the same way. Now when we go to the club, if you don't have money to get in or for drinks, I got you.
Yeah.
But
Well, ain't that how it's supposed to be with
that's
friends
how it's
anyways?
supposed to be. But because I don't know if it was because in their eyes I was outgrowing them or something.
You were.
But they were going around telling people, "Oh, he thinks he's better than us now because he got his IT job." No, when I'm doing the exact same things I was doing with you guys before.
I will say this, because I've been no collar almost my whole life. Mm-hmm. It is difficult to be friends with people when you are in two different income brackets and like drastically different. There is some difficulty there. It
can be, but it's a lot of times it's self-imposed.
It is.
Like either it's their ego, would you say?
Yeah.
Or
because you start building up animosity in yourself about somebody else being more successful.
Why can't I do it?
I went through a moment like that.
I'll tell you a good example of this. When I got my first apartment, because my old friend, he got his apartment. He was a little older than me. He got his apartment first, and he didn't really have much in there. He had like a milk crate.
Right, the typical guy apartment. There was a TV, a Barker lounger, and beer.
I didn't give a fuck.
Yeah,
I used to go get
cool.
cheap liquor and take girls over there and have just as much fun.
Right.
One time now, a few years later, when I got my apartment, the first apartment I had was in Southfield. So I had it, I got furniture. It was really nice. And we were dating these two cousins. And we decided to go out to my place for the first time. And when we walked in, his girl, the first thing she said was, "Oh, this is how a man's apartment should look."
Oh.
And I could see it in his face. And we were sitting there. I had a sectional couch. Him and his friend girl was sitting on one side, we were sitting on the other. I had a backpack over there by him. And normally I said, "Hey," can you pass me my backpack real quick? He said, "Get up and get your own backpack. I'm not your butler." That was different.
But see, I've never been afflicted with the green-eyed monster. What it usually comes down to is the person and this is my experience. I'm not speaking, this is every experience, but this was my experience. It's little comments that get needly.
Yep.
Like, they question things. They're like, "Well, I don't know how you could live like this or whatnot." I'm like, "Fuck, motherfucker, I don't know how I live like this either."
Yeah, but if it's your friend, like I said, I would still go over to his house with no friend, and we have just as good a time. Like, I never looked at it.
And a lot of times it starts out as a build-up like that anyway. You get a mattress, then you get a frame, then you get a whatever.
And it hurt my feelings.
We've all played The Sims.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it hurt my feelings because I was like, wow, he's going around telling everybody this.
Well, and the thing is, too, is like a lot of my friends that are doing better, like I'll try to reach out to them, and they don't respond.
I'm not that type at all.
That's like I've wanted to call him to the carpet on it. Like, what is the reason?
Yeah.
Well, and the answer that it's time, life, blah, blah. And it's mostly bullshit because like you can, a couple of months, whatnot, one or two times you ask, you understand. But like if it's just consistently like you're trying to reach out and they are rebuffing every time. You're like, all right, what's the real reason?
Yeah.
I'm broke. I get it, but I'm not fucking diseased.
Have some integrity. Be a man and just tell me what's wrong.
Exactly.
Ah, shit.
You're too rich for me?
Break.
That's fine,
All right, you're going to get, you're going to get Leaving Lifted Along for the Ride. You're going to get Wild Street, Born to Be. You're going to get the Prime 8's Local Celebrity. And when we come back, we're going to start diving into Juneteenth. Because we've been talking about the gay rights, and I want to make sure that both sides get represented. I don't want anybody to feel like
I was going to bring us back to it, but we were having such a good conversation.
Yeah,
there was one thing I learned about Stonewall that I wanted to mention. So I guess I can
go ahead.
Well, one of the videos, and there was some discrimination internally with them because what I heard or what I heard on the video when they were talking about the documentary was once they got the movement going, I hate to say this, the normal gays were discriminating against the trans people. And I was like, wow, you guys were just in the same fight, but now that you got the ball rolling,
But honestly, that shouldn't be that shocking.
It's like we're wired
there's
to
discrimination
divide
within
each
your own community.
Yeah, that's true.
You ain't dark enough. You ain't light enough.
That's true.
That rolls back to the easy way or the hard way, or the right way. Easy way or the right way.
And again, what I was talking about is the only discrimination that I've ever seen in white groups is economically. Yeah. We don't care if someone just happens to be just a little bit whiter than we are. We're
Thank
not
God,
like,
because I glow in the dark.
You do not glow in the dark. My brother glows in the dark.
Yeah, he is whiter than me.
He
Barely.
is white. But no, so when we get back, we're going to dive into some of the history of Juneteenth, and then we're going to bring it all back around and whatnot. If you're listening to us, thank you for joining us for tonight. We hope we're doing a good job by you. We support all of our LGBTQ plus family and fans and friends and everyone across the world. It doesn't matter whether you're gay, you're straight, you're gay, you're lesbian, or if you're black, if you're brown, if you're Asian. It doesn't matter. You have the right to be who you are and be proud of who you are. Don't let fucking society tell you that black people can only celebrate themselves in February, the shortest fucking month, which was a thing of its own. Don't let them tell you that gay people can only be celebrated in June. Mm-hmm. Don't let them relegate you to a fucking calendar. You be proud of who you are every single day of every single year for the entire time you're alive on this planet.
Be who you are.
We'll be right back.